the end, from my own perspective, I saw that religion was really being brought into the fray in this election. And from my own community, I know that that really sort of played negatively. It seemed as if there were certain candidates in certain parties that were sort of trying to appeal to religious sentiment and stuff like that, and regional sentiment. And I think that put some people off, rather than galvanize people to go out and vote. I think it put some people off. So I think the whole monetary policy and the way it played out in affecting people's living conditions, I think that played a part in creating the apathy that we saw. And I think as well, the way the whole religion and the whole regional politics came in, I think it kind of put some people off, especially from my part of the country.
All right, but as the deputy spokesperson of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, how well did the party mobilize members and the electorate for the election?
We tried to mobilize as much as we can. Of course, there was a limitation because, there was no funding within even the ambit of the law, because we do have to recognize that under the Electoral Act, it gives certain candidates the right to use a certain amount of money to do their mobilization, pay for their agents, and so on and so forth. But it wasn't available because you didn't even have access to the banks. And then you tried to even do transfers to do the basic mobilization that you're allowed to do under the law. And you were not able to do it because, the system was completely overwhelmed. So we did as much as we could, but it was very, very challenging and very, very difficult. And I know this because being on the field, being at the very grassroots, I found it very difficult to even mobilize some of my family members, because obviously they live in the very rural areas. I always say I'm a village girl, and I come from a very rural part of Katsina State. And a lot of my family live in places where they have to travel to go to the nearest polling station. And it was very difficult to even be able to get my own family to go to the to their polling stations, because I wasn't able to get funding across to them. So it was difficult, I think, for everyone, and I think everyone did the best they could. And not just for us, I think every party did the best they could, because we were all existing within this situation that we were all going through, and I think everybody did the best they could. And, everyone's supporters came out, they gave them their support, and at the end of the day, despite all that, Ashwaji still emerged as the victor, even though there's no vanquished. We're all winners in this game of democracy, I think. But it is what it is.
All right, so are you saying the cash crisis played a huge role in the low turnout of voters?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it definitely did. There's no doubt that it did. Because obviously, to get from one place to another just to cast your vote, you've got to pay for your transport. And of course, you have the fuel situation. In some parts of the country, there were even no fuels at the filling stations. And, there are people that have to walk miles to get to the nearest polling station. So obviously, it must have played a part in the sort of apathy or the sort of low numbers that we saw in the election.
In that regard, the governorship and state assembly elections are just about 10 days away. How confident are you about a better voter turnout?
I'm actually worried about about the voter turnout. I hope it will be more, because it's always nice to see more Nigerians. We want more people to have a say-so in what happens in their life and in their future, and what programs will be implemented in their candidates. So it would be nice to see more people turn out. But who's to say? Who's to say? Because there are parts of the country where apparently there was even violence And, so those particular parts of the country where you saw a lot of violence, and there were even some intimidation in parts of the country. We heard about high intimidation of voters in the southeast. So I don't know whether that is going to encourage people to come out and vote, or it's going to make people more galvanized to go out and exercise their civic duty. But whatever the case, we can only do our best. And I encourage everyone out there to go out and vote, because this is your time to have your say about what happens, especially within your respective states. And this is the only time that you get to do it, every 4 years. And I really hope that Nigerians will be energized enough and be confident enough to go and cast their votes, so that they can make a difference in what happens in their lives and in their families' lives and in their communities.
All right, if you would agree with me, this election, especially the good performance of the Labour Party, has changed the electoral map of Nigeria. What does this hold for the future of the APC?
The Labour Party, the Labour Party, in all my interviews, I've always said there are two things that's going to happen with the Labour Party. The first is that people like myself, who maybe don't give the Labour Party as much credit as we should, are going to be shocked at how well they're going to do. But I said the second is that the obedience are going to be outrageously shocked at the fact that Labour Party is not going to win. The Labour Party was never, ever going to be able to win this election based on the constitution of our law. That we have a law. It's not just about winning a certain number of people in a state. It's you have to pass the threshold. There's a constitutional requirement, and you have to pass the threshold of that requirement. And Labour Party did not have the ability to do that within this election. However, the Labour Party has done outrageously well. And I, as a Nigerian, am extremely proud of the kind of stride that Mr. Peter Obi and his running mate, Alhaji Dr. Baba Ahmed, have done. But at the same time, I think they have a lot of work to do. Because I think, yes, for the future, who knows? Maybe their movement is going to grow. But as long as the Labour Party maintains their movement based on religious sentiment and ethnic and regional sentiment, they're always going to have a problem, because the Labour Party was unable to enter inside the north. It was unable to penetrate the core north, and you're not going to be able to win any election without being able to penetrate the core north. So as things go, if things continue the way they are, I think APC is still in good stead. And I think even in the next election, I mean, it's probably too early, we've not even gone into the next dispensation, but because I'm so confident about the kind of positive effect Asiwaju is going to have in Nigeria, I'm so confident that he's going to be a president that is going to overperform and completely meet people's expectations. I think APC is going to grow from there. I think for whatever people look at APC now, when Asiwaju takes over, I think the kind of reform and the kind of innovation he's going to bring into Nigeria is going to help APC grow. So I think it's not us that's going to be looking at the other parties as a threat. I think it's the opposition parties that need to look at APC more as a threat, with Asiwaju at the helm.
All right. We have also seen that the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, has commenced reconciliation moves within the APC. What informed this?
You know, one of the things that really made me completely committed into this journey of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, having to come to know him as a person, is that this is a man of great empathy, a man of great forgiveness, a man of great fortitude. He has so much foresight, he has so much wisdom, and he's a man who only thinks about what is in the best interest of Nigeria and what is in the best interest to unite Nigeria. And that is one of the things that I admire greatly about him. So even throughout the campaign, when you hear opposition parties say nasty things, terrible things about him, he's always letting it roll off his shoulder. He's always thinking about Nigeria. He doesn't let anything penetrate him as long as it is going to affect the way he's going to look at how he's going to be able to rule and unite the country. So I wasn't surprised when in his acceptance speech, he spoke about unity. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is ready to rule Nigeria as one united piece, and that was why he wanted a free and fair process so that he will be able to move on and unite the nation as one. And he's already offered the olive branch to the opposition, and it's now up to the opposition to look and see how we can move this country forward, because at the end of the day, we have to look at Nigeria beyond anyone else. And we have gone through a process. Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has been declared as a president-elect. And I think in the interest of Nigeria, if only the main opposition would be able to channel the great national treasure, President Goodluck Jonathan, and just concede. And even if they don't want to concede, but to lend themselves to offering the kind of support that Asiwaju is going to need to be able to give Nigeria the kind of deliverables that we all need. So I really do hope that people are able to accept this olive branch that this great, great man has been able to offer them, and to look at what he wants to bring into Nigeria. He's a man that only thinks of peace. And I tell you, I'm better as a person, as a Nigerian, for having interacted with Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and I've learned so much about unity and peace and how to sort of look at things from a bigger picture. I've learned so much just from the little interaction that I've had with him during this campaign. And I hope that everybody will be able to give him a chance to see how he's going to be able to unite this country and to bring progress to Nigeria. And of course, with the support of Kashim Shettima, who's another great peacemaker. The two of them are really going to be able to do great things, and I hope that people open their hearts and allow them in, to allow them to do what they need to do for all of us.
Fantastic. But talking about the aggrieved individuals within the party, do you think these aggrieved candidates will cooperate with him?
Within the party or outside the party?
The APC.
The aggrieved people inside APC? We don't really have many. We don't have aggrieved people in APC. We're a united party. I mean, everyone is completely united behind Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, and we're united in helping him be the best ruler, the best version of him that he can be. So within the party, there's no grievance, really. We are completely united. But if you're talking about grievances from outside the party, we can only continue to talk and appeal to people. And, you know, if they don't want to, they have a right. They have a right to go to court. There's a platform, there's a right channel for them to allay their grievances in the way that satisfies our system. So, you know, we're ready for them to go and do that. And at the same time, we reserve our rights to also defend our position and also to present our case. But at the end of the day, we are confident that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, having won this election at this point, will be able to be successful throughout, God willing, for the next 4 and 8 years, by the Almighty's grace.
All right, so that takes me to my next question. This is concerning those outside the party. The opposition parties are raising concerns about the outcome, and Peter Obi of the Labour Party and Atiku Abubakar of the PDP have threatened legal action. What's your view on this?
That's their right to do so. That's fair enough. I mean, that's I mean, if they really do feel that they've been disenfranchised in any way, we encourage them to be able to exercise that legal channel. I think is better than trying to incite some sort of how can I say, some sort of an insurrection, because, you know, when a couple of days ago, when the former president Olusegun Obasanjo wrote that letter, I felt, even though I keep on saying that, I think with all due respect and with all sense of appreciation for the service that he's given this nation, I think it was highly irresponsible, because it was very, it was sort of inflating emotions. So rather than do that, I think it's better, if they feel that they've been disenfranchised in any way, for them to exercise, you know, going through the legal channel. And like I said, we reserve our right to go and defend ourselves and our position and present our own evidence. And at the end of the day, we are confident that even through that channel, we will still be victorious at the end of the day.
All right, still talking about the opposition parties. Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the PDP, this evening described the presidential election as the worst in Nigerian history. One, do you agree with his submission? He also accused the electoral umpire of being in a hurry to declare results, with the winner declared more than 72 hours after the election. Do you agree that INEC was in too much hurry to declare the winner?
No, I don't agree with him that it was the worst election in history. I think even he knows that is not true. I mean, I remember in 2003, he was vice president then. If he thought this election was worse than that election, where I remember the result, the election was, I think it was in Anambra State, and it was supposed to be held on the 13th, and no, 15th. And results came out on the 13th, 2 days before the election. So I can't even imagine Vice President Atiku saying that this was the worst election in history. Listen, this, to me, that defies logic. The fact that you had governors within their state lose their seats, sitting governors, the fact that you had a ruling party lose Lagos State, and lose Katsina State, the state of the president, how on earth does it, does that not defy logic that if the ruling party was trying to rig the election, we certainly wouldn't let them win Katsina State, or Kaduna State, or Yobe State, or Lagos State? I mean, to me, the fact that the whole map, the political map of Nigeria, has completely been changed, to me, it's almost like a prima facie case that this election was actually predominantly free and fair. Of course, there's going to be little pockets of, you know, irregularities here and there. But for the most part, I think people had the power to completely change things. You had governors in Plateau, in Benue, in Cross River, in Taraba lose their states. If they had an ability to rig, they would have not been able to lose. They wouldn't allow their states to be lost. So for me, that argument honestly defies logic. And it seems to me it's only because they didn't win the election. Because initially, when the results started coming out and the results of Lagos State were released and Katsina State were released and PDP were in the lead, you didn't hear anyone talk about the fact that it was the worst election in history. No. In fact, they were already jubilant. They added up the numbers and they saw that Asiwaju had already passed that threshold of Section 134 and that he was going to lead when you added up the numbers. That's when you saw all this revolt in the collation centre. And I think for them to accuse the INEC chairman, I think is highly unfair. I think this INEC chairman was incredibly courageous on that day. He didn't let himself be deterred from doing his own responsibility. He had a job to do, and he had committed himself to doing that job, and he didn't let anyone sway him from doing that job that day. Even though they tried to coerce him, they tried to bully him as he was doing it, he remained steadfast, and he delivered in the way that he was supposed to. And then he advised that, you know, they could follow the legal channel. It's not like they've been stopped from doing that. The INEC chairman had a job to do that day, and I think he was, thank God that he did it in the way that he did, because had he not done it, this country would have been, honestly, people would have been more up in arms than they are now, because he would have not done his duty in the way the law required him to do, and that would have been unacceptable. So I think it's unfair for them to continue labelling this INEC chairman. I think he did the very best that he did, and thank God that he did what he was supposed to do in accordance with the law. And I think I would want to hope that the opposition principals and the opposition candidates would try not to heat up the polity, since now they've made the decision to go to the courts. Then let them do that, and let them stop the rhetoric that's going to heat up the polity, and let them take a leaf out of the book of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and out of the book of people like President Goodluck Jonathan, and even President Buhari when he lost elections in 2003 and 2007. He didn't come out to put out rhetoric out there that was supposed to heat up the polity. You know, he asked for his supporters to remain peaceful and to allow them to follow this matter in the courts of law. And I think that's what they should do as responsible leaders they are. I think they should do that, and they should take responsibility to ensure that peace remains in Nigeria. It's very important that they do that.
All right. Now let's talk about the challenge of governance. How prepared is the president-elect for this?
Oh, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is a man that was ready from day one. And I tell you, you know, having known about the history of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, you know, I say that he's a child of destiny. He's a man who nothing has ever come easy for him, but somehow he's always been able to scale through. And, you know, for me, I think the way this election played out, I can only see the hand of God, because there was a point in this election, at every point, to be honest with you, there has always been hurdles, but somehow, hurdles that seem insurmountable, but somehow Asiwaju Bola Tinubu always was able to get over those hurdles. And for me, I always see the hand of God in whatever he does. So I know God is with him, with the guidance, protection, and grace and blessing of the Almighty. He'll be able to govern this Nigeria. And Asiwaju Bola Tinubu has been ready. He has done a great job in his political journey. He's done a great job as senator. He fought for the freedom that we're able to enjoy today. It's people like Asiwaju that fought for this freedom, this democracy that we're enjoying today. And he was exemplary as governor of Lagos. As a leader of the opposition, he did a great job in building other leaders. You know, he supported so many people. So even from then, he's already had his plan of what he wants to do for Nigeria, how he wants to restructure Nigeria, and he's put that together in his action plan. And even beyond that, there are other things that were not able to be expressed within an action plan that when he comes into governance, he'll be able to do. He is ready. And honestly, I do believe and I have confidence that with Asiwaju at the helm of affairs, Nigeria will see a real resurgence and see the kind of progression and innovation that possibly we've never seen in governance before. I really am confident when I say that with hand on heart.
All right. We have also seen that the international community like ECOWAS, US, UK and France have pledged partnership with the president-elect. What does this hold for the country? In what areas do we need help as a country?
Well, there's so many areas that we need help as a country, and there's so many areas that we as a country can help others. We accept and all the partnership that the international community want to have with us, and thank God that the international community have made this kind gesture, and it also shows that the international community recognize that this election was largely free and fair, at least credible enough for them to recognize that Asiwaju Bola Tinubu is the president-elect and are willing to work with him. We will work with them in a way that will not only make Nigerians proud, but will put Nigeria back on the map, on the global map, and for us to reclaim our position in the Committee of Nations and to be the pride of Africa again. I really do believe that with Asiwaju at the helm of affairs and with the support of Alhaji Kashim Shettima and the kind of team that Asiwaju wants to put in place, I really do think that Nigeria will be a pivot of pride for the black nation, or for black nations all over the world. And I'm so excited to see Asiwaju in that capacity, and we are excited and ready to work with the international community and with the continental community. And yeah, we are ready for that, and we're looking forward to what the future brings.
All right. As a result of this victory, we've also seen some prominent Nigerians, including elder statesman Tanko Yakasau, asking Tinubu to form an all-inclusive government. How do you think this can be achieved?
I'm sure Asiwaju, in his wisdom, will be able to carry as many people along as he can. You know, that is, I think, is really part of his antecedents. He always carries people along. It doesn't matter the situation that was before. He always puts, he's a man of forgiveness. He's a man that looks ahead, that looks forward, that looks to the future. So I think Asiwaju will use wisdom together with Alhaji Kashim Shettima, and they will be able to apply themselves in a way that will benefit every part of Nigeria and everybody in Nigeria, and they will take as many people along as they can. And thank God for the advice of elder statesmen such as Alhaji Tanko Yakasai and General Babangida and people like former President Babangida. Yeah, so Asiwaju will do what he can to take as many people along, because he wants everyone to feel a part of he wants everyone to feel a part of the project that he's going to implement in Nigeria, and he will do what he can to carry so many people along. And I trust that he will do this and use his wisdom in a way that he'll do that.
All right. The president-elect has also promised to involve the youth in his government. How critical do you think this is?
Sorry, can you repeat that question again?
The president-elect has promised to involve the youth in his government. How critical do you think this is?
Yes. Oh, he said it. Even in his acceptance speech, I think that formed part of the main body of his speech. And throughout this campaign, he always talks about including not only youth, but women. I am very confident, even within his kitchen cabinet, you're going to see the inclusion of not just youth, like brilliant cerebral youth. He's definitely going to take youth along, and most of his programs are garnered in a way that will benefit the youth, because he recognizes that the youth are the future of this nation. So he will do everything in his power to ensure that he empowers the youth, because they are the future of tomorrow. So I think everyone can the youth of Nigeria can look forward to the kind of programs that he's going to implement for the youth, and they can look forward to being included with this journey that we're about to embark on.
All right. Having worked with Tinubu and seen him at close quarters, what kind of president do you think he will be?
First and foremost, he's going to be a very wise president. He's going to be a very empathetic president. He's extremely kind. He's extremely generous. So all this is going to play a part. He's going to be a very smart president, a very wise one, I said. He's going to be a very inclusive one. He's going to be a very knowledgeable one. He's going to be a very forward-thinking one. This is the Asiwaju Bola Tinubu that I've come into close quarters with. And even during our campaign, when we went to states that had conflict, in his speech, he always tried to bring the parties together. And I've never seen that happen. I've been in politics for a while now, and I've never seen a candidate when he goes to different places and there are conflicts to try to bring these parties together. And he did this in public several times. So I think he's going to be someone that will listen and try to understand people's grievances and to try to bring everyone together. And he's going to be, most important, I said wise, but he's going to be a listening president. So he's not going to be a stubborn president whatsoever, because he's the opposite of stubborn. But Asiwaju, I think he's going to apply himself. He's going to give service. And he said that he's now at our service, not the other way around. And I can assure Nigerians that's what they're going to see in his application of his leadership.
All right, it is a pleasure having you on the program again tonight. I have been speaking with the Deputy Spokesperson of the Presidential Campaign Council of the All Progressives Congress APC, Hannatu Musawa. Thank you very much for coming on the program tonight. We look forward to more conversation with you.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But the conversation continues from here. Get in touch with us on Twitter at TVCNewsNG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Goodbye.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and governments to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline.